Well, here's my little Triumph Trials Cub replica, and I just thought I'd say a few words about it after yesterday's off-roading adventures with a small group of friends on much more modern bikes that are probably all at least twice as powerful as it. I knew that I had the invite to go on that ride, and I was a little bit sort of daunted by the idea of going out with much more modern capable stuff, and that perhaps I'd just be holding them up and getting in the way, not fitting in. But I decided that I'd go along and find out how things went, and if things weren't going too well I'd always be able to turn around and come home on my own. But as it happens, I did the full 47 miles with everybody else, and a great deal of that mileage was off-road, and to my surprise the bike went extremely well. I hoped that it would do the whole thing, but I had no idea. I've owned this bike a very long time, over 40 years, but I've only actually had it on the road for just over a month. I've never had it on the road before, and it's always been in the shed, put away in a corner. I rebuilt the engine probably when I was in my late teens or early 20s, and assembled the bike, but never did much with it. I went around the fields on it a little bit, but because of the problem I had on it with the engine snatching and holding back, which turned out to be electrical and fixable just by fitting a battery, as we've already seen, it just never got used. It just got left in the corner of the shed, and I used other bikes. And I just thought recently it'd be nice to give it one more try, and anyway, we all know about that in a battery, and I've done it. But apart from a few local runs around the lanes, I hadn't really sort of tested it, or satisfied myself it was going to be reliable or anything really. And so it was a great big leap of faith yesterday to go on that ride with everybody, and well, it kept on going and kept on going. I was ready to give up before the bike was. I was absolutely worn out at the end of it, but the only thing that we had on the bike, and that's why we got a few spots of oil there, I've just changed the oil actually. I've had the bash plate off and drained the oil tank, and topped the gearbox oil up and the primary chain oil and so on, because yesterday we ended up in such deep water. At one point the entire 21-inch front wheel disappeared under the water. The engine did actually stop, but I had the presence of mind to sort of push it out of that hole as quick as I could and got it out the other side, and the engine started up again, and we carried on, and we had a little bit of a misfire for a while, and I thought it might have been water in the carburettor or something, but it wasn't. It was actually dirt. Came from the tank, which obviously has got a little bit of residue in the bottom of it. I never took the tank off or cleaned it out or anything, so all that bumping and jolting around yesterday obviously loosened stuff up, and it found its way into the carburettor, and it got into the nut on the bottom of the main jet holder and built up a layer of silt, probably nearly 1/4 of an inch deep around the bottom of the main jet. So I was lucky it kept going at all actually, so I spotted that. I had been looking for water, but it wasn't water, it was that, so I got that out. That fixed how it ran, and I went out for a short ride on it this morning to warm it through, and came back and dropped the oil because the oil was quite grey, and that would be thanks to it gulping a load of water yesterday, when probably 2/3 or 3/4 of the engine would have probably been submerged. So I was amazed it started again, and I was amazed it carried on so well. But all I had to do to this bike really, after all that, was I oiled the chain obviously, as that is totally bone dry. I've changed the engine oil. I've also taken the little drain plug out the bottom of the crankcase and had the oil out of there as well, so I did a full oil change, nothing unpleasant spotted, and it's all ready to go next time, apart from I'll probably get round to giving it a good clean. But what a fantastic bike. And I'd just say that a lot of old British bikes, and especially the smaller ones, get a bashing off people for being slow and gutless and unreliable. Well, this one did 47 of the hardest miles you could throw at it yesterday, and it just kept going and going and going, and it kept the other guys in sight on their bigger, more powerful, more modern machines as well. And nobody expressed that they were being held up by me or having to wait for me. and I didn't feel like I was holding them up. So never underestimate anything like this, and especially a Triumph Tiger Cub, because they are just fantastic little bikes. They really are. Punch well above their weight. Well worth having one if you get the chance. Oh, and just as a footnote to all that, the bung here, which is supposed to live in that hole there where the clutch cable fits, I've got that removed because I'm going to take it for the next run. It'll have to be dry weather and dry conditions, but I'm going to give it another few miles running with that bung out, because the crankcase breather operates through this chamber here. There's a little outlet at the back, and of course yesterday that also got under the water, and I noticed when I came back from my run this morning warming it up ready for the oil change, I pulled this out and there was quite a bit of steam coming out of there. So I'll run it open when I do my next few miles and let that steam off, and that'll get rid of any damp or condensation that might be in there. That's why that was out.